And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Howdy folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a small card game called Red Dragon, which is not a very original name, although it's also not a very original game. It's a trick-taking game, like hearts and spades and things like that. And in this game, you have 4 suits of cards from 0 to 14 and 4 different dragons, and you definitely don't want the red dragons because red dragons are bad. Here's a closer look at the rules. This game comes with a deck full of different cards. You have cards that go from 0 to 14 in 4 suits. We have yellow, green, blue, and red. And so you're going to have all these cards shuffled up. The red cards are worth negative points equal to the number they have. So the 0 is not worth anything. The 10 is worth negative 10, with the exception of the 11, which is the most evil of dragons, I suppose, where it's worth minus 26 points. You're going to take the cards, shuffle them up, give them to everybody. Then players are going to throw a discard, up to them, a certain number of cards in the middle of the table, based on a number of players. So in a 5-player game, everyone's going to throw 2 cards in the middle of the table. These cards will be shuffled and put face up, and then in turn order, one player, so let's say we're playing a 4-player game, one player will take one, then player 2 takes one, player 3, player 4 takes 2, then player 3, then player 2, then player 1. Drafting these cards back in their hand. Then we start the game. First player plays a card, whatever card they play. Each other player must play that color if possible. And if you don't have it, then you can play any card that you want to. Whoever plays the highest card of the color led wins the trick. Each trick is going to be worth a certain number of points. And again, that's kind of based on the number of players in the game. So if we're playing a 4-player game, each trick is going to be worth 8 points. And of course, you also will get negatives. So if I won this trick, I have 8, but I lost 7 for taking this card. So far I'm up by 1 point. And whoever wins the trick will lead the next one. And we keep going till all the cards have been played. Scores are then kept track of on here, and you start another round. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Also, if a player takes no tricks over the course of the game, they're going to get bonus picks based on how many players took no tricks. So if I'm playing a 5-player game and 2 players took no tricks, each of those players would get bonus points, 10 points each. Or if I'm the only person to take no tricks, then I'm going to get 20 points. Also, if you manage to take every trick in one hand, which is very difficult, I've not seen it happen, but it could, then you will win the game straight outright. Doesn't matter how many points everybody has. And then you shuffle the cards and go to the next round. This is one of those times where the size of the box and what comes in the box don't really match very well. This is a simple deck of cards that then comes with a few advertisement cards for their other games, and then a couple cards remind you of scoring and how many cards are taken out. But that's it. Now, the card quality itself is very nicely done, and one thing they do that not all trick-taking games do is it works for right-handed players and for left-handed players. Very few games do that. The art is very nice, and like I said, high-quality cards. Now, I realize that as I play more and more games, it's easy to get jaded towards gaming. And I think Red Dragon could be a very strong example of me going, I've seen all this before. And yet, for some reason, this game charmed me a bit. Now, part of that is because I found it to be quite hilarious that the scores in this game are quite a bit lower than you might think. It's so straightforward. There's no trump suit. You just play the cards, and red cards are always bad. Reminds me a lot of hearts in that way. And maybe that's why I like this so much, because it's like a heart variation. But what makes this game different is the fact that you play those cards in the middle, then people draft them, letting me do 2 things. First of all, get rid of some cards, and hopefully take some cards I want. You try to get rid of a whole color if possible, or what have you. Secondly, I can see who takes what cards, so I know where some cards are, which gives me more information. It's not perfect information, but it's pretty good. And as the game goes by, as you play these cards and try not to get that red 11 or try to win everything, which again hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it's quite possible, it just has that nice feel to it. Now, you may be watching this and never played a trick-taking game. This would be a great one to jump into it with because it's not that difficult. The drafting would throw you off maybe the first round, but once you play it a little bit more, you'll start understanding some of the intricacies of this. And I think it plays so easily. Now, some people are going to say, I want there to be something more, and I get that. But you know what? Recently, I've played a lot of fairly complex, convoluted trick-taking games. And I'm a little happy to play one that's not for once. This one is very straightforward. It has 15 cards per suit, which is a little bit more than your typical deck. There's 60 cards here rather than the typical 52-card deck. The red cards are always bad. The negative points are written directly on them. If you don't know what to do, taking no tricks is not a bad thing because you definitely will get no negative points and you'll get some positive points. You could win 5 or 6 tricks if they're 8 points each, but if you're losing 40 points, it's very easy to get negative points in this game. I like it. Red Dragon, I like the look of it, the motif. It looks and feels like a classic game. And along the line, I found myself having a lot of fun. It also scales well. Most trick-taking games don't work with 5 or 6. I think this one does. So that's Red Dragon. Like I said, kind of a boring name, but a fun game. Dice Tower Judgment approved.